Yeah, I was enjoying my Carcharodontosaurus. I'm here today to do something a little bit special. Since I'm leaving YouTube as of 16th September, I thought I'd do some little special videos, and this is one of them. My top 10 favourite dinosaurs as of now, because as we all know, favourites are subject to change, but there are a few that may not change, so let's hope that they don't change. But if they do, then well, you won't know about it. So let's get straight into it. Basically, we're just going to go through some honourable mentions first. So, honourable mention number 1 is Carcharodontosaurus lacustae. Now, if I'm pronouncing that right, then yes. If I'm not, then I'm sorry. But Carcharodontosaurus has always been like a really favourite Centrosaurian for me. But Carcharodontosaurus lacustae was definitely really cool because it was, as far as I know, one of the only species, or the one species, that seems to have that big horn in the middle of its skull. Other restorations have the other two species have the horn as well, but as far as we know, this is the only species that had that horn, and I think it's really cool that they definitely, you know, recognise that in this particular picture and other pictures like it. But then it's like other species like Canadensis, they have, and it's just like, no, that's wrong. But this one stuck out to me because it's more of a gracile species than the other two. I believe it's not as heavy, but I just like the look of the animal. I like that addition to the horn. It looks bizarre, makes it look weird. Up next is Stegosaurus stenops. Now, as you all know, my previous favourite Stegosaurus species was Stegosaurus armatus, but since Stegosaurus stenops is most recognisable and actually has like cool figures about it, and is also just like one of the most aesthetically pleasing of the species of Stegosaurus, I find this species more appealing than the other two species. But this is probably one of the best species known, and it also, but I believe, also possesses throat armor like Armatus. But unfortunately, Armatus is not valid anymore, which makes me cry. But oh well, Stenops is a really good replacement, and I definitely love this dinosaur because it's a mainstay, and the biology of the whole Stegosaurus genus is really interesting as well. Up next is the legendary Giganotosaurus. Now, we all know that I hate Giganotosaurus, but not really. Giganotosaurus as a whole is a really good and really just well-known dinosaur. I mean, from what we know, the few specimens we have, we do know quite a lot about it, and as a predator itself, it's definitely in the top of its environment, definitely the top predator. It had to contend with quite a few various and vicious predators, and also had to deal with titanosaurs. But unfortunately, recent studies have shown it doesn't deal with Argentinosaurus. But oh well, it's still a cool predator, and I still have to give it its respect because it's just such a cool predator as a whole. But not as cool as my bay, and you all know who my bay is. Ceratosaurus pinhornensis was always sort of an unusual dinosaur when it was first found, but now when you look at it, it's even more unusual. I mean, it's a ceratopsian with massive brow horns, even though it's a centrosaurian, and it has a large, just like iceberg, like a brick or whatever it is, on the nose. It's just incredible. It's just such a weird dinosaur, and to be honest, the species name doesn't own up to what it really is. The species name is pinhornensis. Pinhorn? No, this is a brick horn. This thing is dangerous. I mean, look at it. It's got a block on its face. It's going to hurt you if you ever like come into contact with it. Well, luckily we don't, but definitely a bizarre looking dinosaur, and definitely a majestic looking dinosaur if you look at it in other pictures. But definitely a favourite of mine, definitely wholeheartedly, just because of the bizarre nature of it and just because of the look of it. Gorgosaurus libatus is another big favourite of mine, just because of how it's such an underdog in the Tyrannosaur world. I mean, when you think of North American Tyrannosaurs before Tyrannosaurus rex, a lot of people often say, oh, Daspletosaurus or Albertosaurus, but Gorgosaurus seems to be left out of the shuffle sometimes, which is a real shame because we know a lot about its biology, ontogeny, and ecology, and it's a really interesting theropod as a whole, and I definitely think that Gorgosaurus definitely needs that bit more, you know, fandom. And to be honest, it definitely deserved it when it got its roles in March of the Dinosaurs and the Walking with Dinosaurs 3D movie, even though we know that film is pretty bad, but at the same time Gorgosaurus was the best bit about that film. So definitely Gorgosaurus is always going to be a favourite of mine, just because of how sleek and yet just fundamentally crazy of a dinosaur it is in the biology and the particular specimens, like the one specimen that had a brain tumour for a lot of its life and still survived. That just shows how hardy this particular dinosaur is, and is definitely a tough enough guy to withstand the ceratopsians and hadrosaurs it used to live with. Saara Peltor Edward Strorum is definitely a unique notosaurid. I mean, look at it. It's crazy. It's got a massive pair of spikes on its shoulder, and it's got some just incredible spikes in its neck, and then it's got the long tail that's got little spikes in it that could act like scissors and just chainsaw a predator to death. I mean, it's just incredible. It's a tank that's built with spikes in it. It's incredible. But another thing that just really got me is the figure that was released by Safari Ltd, and that's just an incredible figure. That's amazing. But also when you look at the specimens that they found of it, the specimens are incredible. I mean, you find the shields of these guys, the armor plating, the arm bones, the leg bones, stomach, ribs, you know, stuff like that. Just anything like that is incredible. And the ecology it used to live in was incredible as well, because it had to deal with a lot of predators like Utahraptor, Deinonychus, and Acrocanthosaurus, and it definitely had to put up with those, because look at the size of those spikes. Those spikes kill any dinosaur, and you know, that's why it's on my list. Lythronax argestes is another cool tyrannosaur that I think definitely gets lost in the mix with tyrannosaurs. I mean, first of all, when they found it with, I believe they found it that it possessed feathers, and that's just so cool. It's amazing. It's another bit of evidence of a large tyrannosaur that has feathers, and we know it from Eutyrannus, and maybe we could know it from T-Rex in the future. You don't know, but this is definitely a cool dinosaur. I mean, its name, Lythronax, you just think of that name, it's just like, wow, that's amazing. I believe Lythronax means the Gore King, and that's just amazing. The Gore King. That's incredible, and especially with the teeth. The teeth on this dinosaur are really unique as well. They do this weird, where they're really tiny in the premaxilla and then just flare out just as you get to the maxillar contact area, and they're just like, whoa, it's just like, wow, what happened here? But again, this dinosaur definitely was built to take down prey such as Parasaurolophus and another one of my favourite dinosaurs, which we'll get to in a bit. But definitely a unique dinosaur, definitely a unique theropod, and it's just such a cool dinosaur, so that's why Lythronax makes my list. Diplodocus carnegii, even though being the smallest of the two current valid species of Diplodocus, is definitely a really cool dinosaur. I mean, think about it. It's got a long neck, it's got a longer tail, it uses a tail as a weapon, as a way to communicate, and it's got spines on the back of it, pretty much running from the back of the head down to the tail. It's incredible, and it's such a huge dinosaur, but yet it weighs so less as well. I mean, relatively, it only weighs around 15-16 tons. There are elephants that used to be around that are heavier than that, and that's just incredible, and it's like, wow. But definitely, again, a unique dinosaur, and I love a sauropod that's just so unique. I mean, you look at it, it's an incredible dinosaur, and its name definitely lives up to its reputation, Double Beam. It's definitely just such a huge dinosaur, but so unique as well, and it lived in a unique environment. Again, the Morrison Formation just full of sauropods, full of predators, full of ornithopods, you know, all that, and it's just incredible how it lived alongside others of its kind, how it just dominated the landscape. I mean, you can find a lot of Diplodocus remains if you look. But yeah, again, Diplodocus, again, is a child favourite of mine, very nostalgic, and that's why it's been on my list, because it's such a nostalgic, basically, dinosaur from the days of Walking with Dinosaurs, which is one of my favourite, if not my favourite, documentaries of all time. So yeah, Diplodocus, that's why it makes my list pretty much. Galicio is definitely a unique Patagonian dinosaur in that it's a neovenatorid, but you look at those little arms, they're like Tyrannosaur arms, it's crazy. But I like little hunters like this that are just designed for speed, and definitely a unique dinosaur. And what it also does is that it helps with the validity of other dinosaurs, because back when they first found it, they actually used it to compare to Deltadromeus, which was a African neovenatorid, and they found that Deltadromeus possibly could be a neovenatorid, which helps secure Deltadromeus' validity and also where it lies in the phylogenetic tree of life. And Galicio as well is like really cool because its name, Galicio, the demon, that's pretty cool. Imagine if a creature like that was around today and all you'd hear is the name, the demon. You know, it was pillaging villages and killing their cattle and robbing their children at night and all that stuff, and just be the name, the demon. But definitely a unique and very speedy and lightly built predator, and I definitely love stuff like this, so that's why Galicio is definitely on my list. Diabloceratops etani, or the devil-horned head, as they call it, is just such a cool dinosaur. I mean, look at it. Its head frill and the horns are so weird, and again, its phylogeny is weird because it's a basal centrosaurid apparently, which is just weird because look at it. It's got the horns of a chasmosaurid, and the name as well. The devil horn head or whatever, I don't know, but it's just the devil horn. That's so cool, and it's really unique as well because it shared its environment, I believe, with Lithranax. So definitely there was that arms race between this and Lithranax, where they found it, and it's just such a cool dinosaur as well. It's basal, but it looks so cool as well. It looks just so incredible and so magnificent when you look at it, and it's definitely popular because I do see a lot of artwork, and definitely a lot of people are making figures of it, statues, you know, stuff like that, and artwork, and it's just such a cool dinosaur to look at, and it's such a cool dinosaur to admire, and that's why it makes my my list, because it's the devil horn guy, you know, and I love devils. Ceratosaurus densilicatus may be the biggest species of Ceratosaurus, but definitely is still an underdog in terms of how it lived. I mean, Ceratosaurus densilicatus is the biggest of the Ceratosaurus species, but at the same time it's still very rare, and we don't even know if it had a horn. But what the cool thing about it is just the way it looks, the way it's been portrayed in reconstructions and restorations and artist work, and it's also so cool as well because it's unique from the other Ceratosaurus species in that this may have been the most pescivorous of the lot, because apparently they think that the teeth, because of the teeth, the way they actually are structured, that they're perfect for killing and eating fish, and that's really cool. And at the same time, this is a Ceratosaurus species that could give Allosaurus a run for its money because it's big enough to take on an Allosaurus. And we always see these battles between Allosaurus and Ceratosaurus always getting, you know, knocked down a peg or two, or always getting, you know, the bad egg, you know, and it's just so refreshing to see that maybe this Ceratosaurus may have given Allosaurus a run for its money. And that's why this great looking dinosaur, this amazingly just awesome dinosaur in its ecology, the anatomy and the biology of it is just so cool, and that's why it's on my list, and it's just going to be a fan favourite of mine for years to come. One of the best named dinosaurs in the world, Saurophaganax maximus, is just such a cool dinosaur. I mean, yeah, apparently it's going to be reassigned as Allosaurus maximus because there's enough variation between Allosaurus fragilis and this to warrant itself a species under Allosaurus, which is a bit disappointing, but still I'm going to call it Saurophaganax because Saurophaganax is cool. Because Saurophaganax is a large Allosaurid that, yeah, Torvosaurus couldn't bully this guy, and it was also so rare as well. It was just such a unique dinosaur because it's so rare but very similar to Allosaurus in a way that it's a monster among, you know, it's a monster among men essentially. I know I'm making a bit of a reference there, but that's what it is. It's a monster among men because the Allosaurus are the men, this guy's the monster. This guy was a monster. I mean, some estimates put it up to around 13 meters in length. That's T-Rex size. That's bigger than T-Rex, in fact. And that's incredible. And imagine this guy, a pack of these guys, taking on like a Brachiosaurus or I don't know, a Diplodocus and taking that down and just seeing how they rip it apart, that'd be amazing. And that's why I love Saurophagonex so much. The name, the look, the mystery about this dinosaur is why it's so high on my list. One of the greatest predators in my mind in the world is this guy, my favourite dinosaur of all time, Carcharodontosaurus saharicus. And just the story behind why it's my favourite is kind of weird, because I remember just playing on JPOG a lot and just I fell in love with this dinosaur, I fell in love with the look of it, and then I started reading up on it and it fascinated me, and then I've read up on it more and more and more. And you think about it, it's a large carnivore in an area, in an environment where the land is dominated by predators, and it has to, you know, fight for survival, and it's fighting every day. And yeah, it's just still there, it's still prominent. I mean, not even the biggest of the theropod dinosaurs, Spinosaurus, could contend with this guy, because he was fighting. He was a really tough fighter. In fact, they found evidence that possibly, and I say possibly, that this guy contended and fought off a Spinosaurus, and also that this guy was the top predator maybe. And Carcharodontosaurus, the name as well, is so cool, shark-toothed lizard of the Sahara, and that's just so cool. But again, the size, the look of it, and just the connection I have with this dinosaur as well is like really just, it hits home, and that's why I love this dinosaur to pieces. This guy will always be my favourite. I don't find any other dinosaurs so appealing to the point where it's my favourite. This guy will always be my favourite. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this top 10. You know, if you got your top 10 dinosaurs, put them down in the comment section below, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.